The Sabres get another win at home again where they have been dominant, and Tage Thompson is really asserting himself as a league superstar yet again. Talk about Tage and his chase for 50 coming up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast.
You're Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into this Monday edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can check us out on our YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe the show there where you can watch it. And if you would like to become a part of our Locked On Sabres text club, you can do that by signing up, at least over at joinsubtext.com/locked on Sabres. Sneaky Joe DiBiase here following another Sabre victory, another good weekend as the season is winding to a close and the Sabres continue to play awesome in the months of March and especially so far in April, where they are 3-0 and there are just 6 games remaining in this regular season. Talking today about Tage Thompson giving us something to watch down the stretch here as he is now approaching 50 goals. Want to talk a little bit about Tage this year, which we have not done a lot of, mostly because there's nothing really controversial about Thompson. We usually do full shows, breakdowns on guys like Dylan Cousins before he was traded to try to figure out what's wrong, and Jack Quinn to try to figure out what's wrong, and guys like we've talked about James Reimer recently to figure out what they should do with in the future, and guys that kind of came up out of nowhere were like Ryan McLeod scoring 20 goals and Jason Zucker. Tage has just kind of been good all year long, even very good most of the season, and then recently he has hit another gear, and he's done it on a very interesting line. And that's the story out of the Bruins game on Sunday night, where the Sabres continue to push the Bruins down to the bottom of the standings. Boston dead last in the Eastern Conference. They continue to look horrible. They will be a bad team probably going into next year. That lineup that they put on the ice at KeyBank Center last night was abysmal. So a lot to get to on today's show of the Locked On Sabres podcast. Reminder, we're doing our Locked On Sabres favorite Sabre bracket. We're just trying to figure out who's the most beloved Sabre of all time. We are into the Sweet 16. Voting is underway in the Sweet 16 of that. At Locked On Sabres on Twitter /X if you would like to vote in that. Got some runaways early. Alexander McGillney over Danny Gare. Remember, these things are going to have a little bit more of a lean towards the younger demographic, I would assume. Pat LaFontaine and Jason Pominville locked in a battle right now. And then you've also got Perreault and Dahlin all right now, votes that you can go over and vote on if you want to get your vote in. So before we get to anything else, we got the Carolina game tomorrow. The Sabres beating the doors off the Bruins after they get down early in that game, 2-0. End of the first period, it was 2-0. And I personally watched that first period and was very frustrated, thinking that they should have had better results. The Bruins just do not impress me with anything they're really doing right now, other than like Pastrnak is unbelievable. And there's no doubt about that, but nothing really blows you away. Even in the first period, which was by far their best period, marginal advantages over the Buffalo Sabres. I thought the Sabres had the puck a bunch of times in the first period and just weren't burying their chances. But they were running around a little bit. They were scrambling a little bit. Much more composed in the second period and the third period. The second period, it felt like the Sabres had the puck for the entire 20 minutes. That whenever, it didn't matter who was out there. Even the fourth line last night, which I want to talk a little bit about later when it comes to Noah Ostlund, Sam Lafferty and Beck Malenstein out on the ice possessing the puck is not something that you see every day. The Thompson line especially, every time they were on the ice, especially in the second period, but the third as well, that you were not taking the puck from them. They didn't have an amazing scoring chance on every single shift, but every shift was spent down in the Boston end. And you've got some chemistry, I think, coming together right now with some of these lines. You've definitely got some of the skill on display that these Sabres have. And now it's starting to really be reflected, by the way, in the overall season stats. The Sabres, if you look, and they score 6 on the night and looked the part offensively. They didn't get lucky. They earned those 6 goals. The Sabres have 253 goals on the year. That is good for 7th in the National Hockey League. If I were to read you the top 9, here's the top 9 goal-scoring teams in addition to the Sabres. So the Sabres are one of the 9. The other 8 teams and what position they're in right now. Washington clinched the playoff spot. Tampa clinched the playoff spot. Colorado clinched the playoff spot. Dallas clinched the playoff spot. Winnipeg clinched the playoff spot. Vegas clinched the playoff spot. Toronto clinched the playoff spot. Carolina clinched the playoff spot. It's like the Sabres and the best 8 teams in the NHL, the leading scoring teams in the league. Every other team's clinched a spot. The Sabres, meanwhile, have been, basically out of the race forever. They are not officially eliminated. Depends when you're listening to this. Monday night. I think you could get a change in that. Waiting for a Montreal win, basically. But still mathematically alive, but out of the race. They score goals. And that's one thing I was wrong about this season. I thought going into the year they were going to have a problem finishing. That has not happened. They've looked very similar in a lot of these stretches to the 22-23 Sabres that were one of the best scoring teams in the NHL. Now, what I want to get to that is reflected in this game against the Bruins and is reflected in Tage Thompson's season and the Sabres overall. We know their problems with the power play. And we know from breaking it down repeatedly, the number one strength of this Sabres team is scoring goals at 5-on-5. At even strength, and especially 5-on-5, they bury their chances. And that is no more true of anybody than Tage Thompson. And he didn't do it alone, especially in this game. That line, as I mentioned, with Thompson, Jiri Kulich, and Zach Benson is really hitting their stride right now. And as I mentioned, I don't think they had a bad shift all last night. And Zach Benson is really showing his impact and his worth on that line. There is a screen grab that the Buffalo Sabres tweeted out yesterday. I'll put it up on our YouTube channel right now. It was the screen graphic at the end of the second period, just to say, hey, end of 40 minutes, this is the score. And the screen grab is Thompson as he's scoring the goal to tie it for the Sabres at 3. And here, if you're watching on YouTube, you could check it out. If not, you could go to my Twitter at Sneaky Joe Sports. You could find it there from Sunday. Look at the screen grab that we have here. Tage Thompson has the puck just on the outside of the blue paint to the left of Joonas Korpisalo, the goaltender for Boston. And to Thompson's left is Zach Benson, who is getting mauled by 3 Bruins, 2 that are on arrival, already making contact with him, and Beecher, who is on his way right behind Benson. He'll make contact in like a split second after this screen grab. So Tage Thompson is all by himself on the right. Nobody got a stick on him. Nobody touching him. He's just got an open, clear shot to take at an empty net right in front of the goal. And who made that goal happen for him? It was Zach Benson. Zach Benson, who dug the puck out. It wasn't covered by Korpisalo. He got it loose. He got it over to the side. He won the battle to be in that position, to be in front of the net like that, over 2 defensemen in Peak and Lurie, who are much bigger players. Yet Benson wins that battle, and it creates the goal for Thompson. I want to do a full breakdown on Benson a little bit later this week. His play with Tage has got me super excited about potential for Benson next year and maybe an increase in his numbers, which are really the only thing we're waiting on with Zach Benson. The defensive play is there. His ability without the puck I mean, he is 5 steps ahead of every player that he's going up against. And it's showing its worth for Thompson, that it's creating goals for their number one goal scorer. And Kulich's done a good job too. But Thompson, again, wasn't just that one goal where Benson kind of made it for him. The breakaway, Kulich sends him in the third, and he just undresses Korpisalo, going forehand, backhand, pretty sure all 4, and then he roofs it, top shelf. He is playing on another level right now, and it's got him having a look at 50 goals. Right now, Tage Thompson, 43 goals on the year, 4 behind his career high that he had 2 years ago with 47. He has 6 games to go. And right now, I would want to bet that he does it. Gets a couple empty netters. I think he's going to do it. I kind of buried the point, though. I was leading up to that Thompson is kind of a microcosm of the Sabre season. I mentioned how, like, the number one thing that they're good at is 5-on-5 goal scoring. The thing the Sabres are not good at this year is power play. And it's a different looking season for Thompson. And I think a good sign that despite the lack of power play production, there's Jason Zucker getting another goal against Boston. He's the one guy that's been able to do it. Only 7 goals on the year for Thompson on the power play with the man advantage. Compared to 2 years ago, his 47 goal season, 20 of his goals came on the power play. This year, 7. This year, 36 goals at even strength for Thompson. Already 10 more than his career high of 26. In fact, right now, sitting here at this moment, Tage Thompson is tied for the league lead in even strength goals with Leon Draisaitl, who's already crossed the 50-goal mark for the season in total. He leads the league in even strength goals with Leon Draisaitl. And if you want to know how rare that is, no Buffalo Sabre in the franchise's history has ever led the league in that category. Jason Pominville came very close one time in 06-07. He finished 1 goal back of Vinny Lecavalier for the most even strength goals. Rick Martin finished in second once, and Danny Gare finished in second twice. But no Sabres ever led the league in that category. And right now, it's not, it's a little bit nitpicky, just a little bit. It's not like a crazy, he leads the league in 3-on-3 scoring. 5-on-5, or 5-on-5, 4-on-4, and 3-on-3 actually included, even strength. Number 1 in the NHL. And I think that's a good sign for his future if the Sabres can get the power play stuff figured out. But all it is to say is that Thompson's not a power play merchant. He never really has been fully a power play merchant, but he definitely has been much better and with the man advantage. And for him to continue to produce like this without having that success on the man advantage, I think shows just how much his game has grown, how much of a star he is. And once in a while, just kick your feet back and kick your feet up, kick back and just think about his journey. We did that as he was ascending originally. And I don't do it as much anymore because we're more used to him being this good. But just take a look back and remember where we were with Thompson. Because, a lot of Sabres have regressed. A lot of them. Cousins and Quinn and Tuck did a little bit last year, and Skinner, remember, regressed for the Sabres, and Samuelson's had massive regression, and this year Luukkonen has had massive regression all over the place. All these guys have regressed, and Thompson has been much more steady. For him, I think it's more and more clear. This year is more proof of it. That last year, 29 goals in 71 games, he's just hurt. That's it. The only question with Thompson for me anymore is, well, it's not the only question, but in terms of his impact, it is he healthy? Because if the answer to that question is yes, I feel fine. I feel great about him coming in and being a number 1 top line level forward for the Buffalo Sabres. And what he's doing right now, stick handling, the highlight reel goals are back. There's nothing to worry about, in my opinion, with Tage Thompson. Now, I stopped myself because I do think there are questions about Tage, but it's not about his play. It's more to me about his position and his line. And I want to go through some numbers about the line he's been playing on recently with Kulich and Benson and what position Thompson might need to play for the Sabres going forward. That's when we come back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by Indeed. You just realized that your businesses needed to hire somebody yesterday. Well, how can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. A lot of times people are in the spot where you need the right hire yesterday, and the pressure is on. Every day without the right person can be a setback, and that's exactly when Indeed sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. And now you could speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying that you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed, is all you need. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. The Sabres win again against Boston. They have not lost at home since March 4th against San Jose. It has been more than a month since the Sabres have lost at home. I think it's 13 of their last 15 at home, and they have now won 4 games in a row. 7 of their last 8. Too little, too late. All right, 13-game losing streak and inconsistencies throughout the year. They had a 6-game losing streak end of February into March. That gets you beat. So too little, too late for the results. But we're trying to learn stuff about this team down the stretch. And really, is there anything meaningful to take away from the end of this season? And if you are somebody that thinks, I throw it all out. You know, a lot of these other teams are not even putting their pedal to the metal, right? Like foot on the floor. You know, the other night, the Sabres see Jonas Johansson against Tampa Bay, not Andrei Vasilevsky. Part of the reason why Tampa's not playing Vasilevsky a ton down the stretch, not as much as they normally would, because they got playoffs in a couple of weeks. And teams got guys from the AHL up. I mean, the Sabres have that too, but you're not seeing the same exact lineups that you would see in November and December from teams right now. And the Sabres don't have full lineup either. So, you know, it's a little preseason-y, just a little bit. So I understand if your takeaway and your mindset is, I'm not taking any of this. I'm not taking these last couple of weeks to mean anything for next season. It was a bad year and it should be treated as a bad year. Totally get that. When we're in it though, I'm trying to look for things that I could take away. And right now, Thompson's role is interesting. What position he plays and who his line mates are going to be going into next year and what he's been doing recently. He has been going back and forth. We've been seeing him play both wing and center. And even within games. Yesterday, he mostly plays with Jiri, Kulich, and Zach Benson, but there were a couple of shifts that he played with Alex Tuch on his line. And maybe Peterka or Zucker was the other one. But either way, Thompson was at center for a couple of big faceoffs. But most of the game, he's playing with Benson and Kulich. And when that happens, you know, more often than not, Kulich is the center. So when you look at the Sabres depth chart for next year, the good news is this is a good problem to have. Thompson this year proved the ability to be a top-level goal scorer at both center or wing. And I think we assumed he could do it at wing still. We just hadn't seen it in a while. We saw it a little bit at the end of last year, and it did look good. But for the most part, Thompson's been a center ever since Don Granato put him there after Jack Eichel was traded away. And for the most part, that was always credited with his development. And his success is they moved him to center. And I still believe that's true, but we hadn't seen him at wing in large sample sizes since he wasn't really that good. So getting the proof to see, okay, no, he is still this great, even if you move him on the wing. That's a good thing to have. And his ability to kind of run his own line, I think, is also helping the depth of the potential lineup for opening day next year. That he had played on an elite line 2 years ago with Alex Tuch and Jeff Skinner. And Tuch, especially, being such a good veteran winger, finisher, great chances that he creates himself, puck carrying, speed, all around game. Veteran presence. I mean, Thompson can have off nights or let Tuck drive the line at times. And that can happen too with Benson and Kulich. But I think it's much more his line when it's a 19 and a 20-year-old that he's playing with. He's the shooter. He's the finisher. He is the guy that's kind of allowing everything to work through him. I think being able to do this with two kids on his line is a really good sign as well. So now it begs the question, is this a line that we should see in the future? And what if it is going to be Kulich, Thompson, and Benson, that likely means Thompson stays on the wing full time. And then it's Kulich and probably Josh Norris on paper with Ryan McLeod number 3 as your 3 centers, 1, 2, 3. And then you don't need Thompson to play center. And that might, to me, be the likeliest outcome. That Thompson opens next year more on the wing than down the middle. He'll get his shifts down the middle, but mostly he'll be playing on the wing because the Sabres, I think, are going to like their 1, 2, 3 center combo of Josh Norris, Jiri Kulich, and Ryan McLeod. This line, specifically, it has been 5 games now that we have seen this line play together mostly. And if you look at the minutes that this line has played together, actually it's 9 games. They've played at least in parts of 9 games. You have 83 total minutes of ice time for Thompson. Right now, that is his 4th most common line on the season. He played most of the year with Tuck and Peterka. And end of last year, I think I might have been saying the same thing about that line then. Remember, they had developed some chemistry at the very end of last year, and that was the line to open the next season with. And they did that. And that's the line he's played the most with. Thompson also played a lot with Jiri Kulich and JJ Peterka, and played a lot with Jason Zucker and Alex Tuck. Those are the 3 lines above this one. But 83 minutes of Kulich and Benson on his line. And all the numbers look good. All the numbers look good when those guys are out there. And before I get into the numbers, my eyes when I'm watching that line, I think it allows Thompson to move around a little bit more. Because Benson, right now, he's not a very fast player. He's moving around more and more. I actually feel like he is getting faster as the season goes on. But he's very good at being stationary. And when he's stationary, it kind of allows him to post up a little bit and let Thompson move around the ice, get into shooting lanes, get open, let Benson be the quarterback once you're in the zone a little bit more, and Tuck Thompson, the receiver, being able to bury some chances. And then Kulich, I think, is just a little bit of both. He's good for both of that. A lot of it to me, though, is Benson doing a great job of opening things up for Thompson with the way he's ahead of plays and the passes he makes and winning board battles, creating turnovers. Benson's doing a lot, I think, for Thompson. The line numbers-wise is dynamite. All the numbers. Shot attempts with Kulich, Benson, and Thompson on the ice in 83 minutes for the Buffalo Sabres. 97 for Buffalo, 88 for the Sabres, or for the opponent in shot attempts. It's a good mark. Total shots. The Sabres are outshooting their opponent 46-34 when you got the line of Kulich, Benson, and Thompson. They are outscoring their opponent 7-4. That's good. Scoring chances are 46-34 in favor of the Sabres when they're out of the ice. And then finally, the high danger chances, 21-14 when that line is on the ice. They have the advantage in every single department. And in terms of expected goals for 61%. You expect them to score 61% of the goals when they're on the ice. That is better than all 3 of the lines that Thompson's played more minutes with. All 3 of them. So it's been his most efficient line when you look at sample size and you look at the raw data. But I think, to my eyes, it looks like their best line. It's just, they have everything. Benson with the defensive game and his IQ, and Kulich's got the shot and the speed. Thompson's a superstar. I just think they have the whole package. And they have the ability to rotate centermen, right? Like, you can kind of keep a line together and kind of flip positions between Thompson and Kulich. If you think one guy's playing better in the wing in a certain game, or depending on where you're taking the face off on the ice, that's of course a big determining factor. So I like that line to open next year. The long story short, my end summary here is I like that line to start next year. I would keep it together. I would start next year with Kulich down the middle with Thompson and Benson. And then you'd have to find some other second line combination like Norris, Peterka, and, Tuck. Something like that. And you roll with that. So it becomes a little bit more of a clear picture if you think this line is due to stay together. When we come back, I want to wrap things up with the little we've seen from Noah Ostlund so far in his couple of games of Sabre action, and I've been impressed. More impressed than another Amherst that has been up even more. That when we come back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres presented by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it is super easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all the stress. When I started using Monarch, I realized how much I spend on food delivery, but you budget smarter and you save more no matter what it is. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Wrapping things up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, a little Noah Ostlund talk. Alex Ovechkin, of course, scores the passes Wayne Gretzky for the all-time goal record. All-day coverage on that over on our sister show, Locked On NHL. My story of where I was when I saw it, I'm driving back from Charlotte, and we're in Pennsylvania. We're about in Pittsburgh, and I'm listening to the game on the radio. So I hear it happen, and then we get to a stop. We like just outside of Pittsburgh. We're basically in Pittsburgh, famous Pittsburgh sandwich shop that you probably know of. We were at, and Ovechkin had just scored the goal, and I hadn't seen it yet on video, so I'm pulling it up on my phone after we sit down and I'm watching it. I'm not gonna watch the whole ceremony right there because it took 20 minutes, right? Gretzky telling story time, whatever. And I did have the thought occur to me, like looking over my shoulder. Penguins fans are cool with this, right? Like, I'm like, they should be. The Penguins are having a bad year. I don't think they're really like bitter rivals right now. They have been in the past. I think there's much more of a respect than there ever has been as these two, Crosby and Ovechkin, get to the end of their careers. But little strange. I did see Ovechkin's record-breaking goal for the first time in Pittsburgh, the city of like his biggest rival city of his career. The goal was awesome. It all worked out perfect, right? The goal was great. It wasn't an empty netter. He ripped a wrist shot from his spot on the power play, right? No offside review BS. It was just a great goal, a great moment. I think they killed it with the ceremony, other than someone probably could have took a mic from Gretzky like 30 seconds earlier. I thought he was going to talk forever. Whatever. He earned it. He earned it. He's got all the other records too, so he gets his one chance to pass one record over to somebody else. And I love Ovechkin. I mean, Ovechkin, to me, I like my stars and the faces of the league to have a personality. I think it's important. I think it's critical for the sport. Like Mike Trout in baseball could walk through a mall anywhere in America and nobody would know who he is, or at least most people probably wouldn't. And he doesn't win either. That's part of it. Crosby's a little bit of this for me. I've always kind of resented the fact that he just doesn't. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have that personality, that, entertainment factor off the ice that kind of draws you to him. And I think Ovechkin's always had that. So glad to see he gets the goal. I think he has a shot at 1,000. He'd have to stick around for probably 2-3 more years. But he could, if he wanted 1,000, I think he could get it. I mean, he's on a 56 goal pace this season. So great for Ovechkin, great for the game that we had it happen. And right before the playoffs, they're a 1 seed in the East. I mean, I think them winning it all would be a pretty sweet story in the same year that he broke the record. So one last Sabre thing to get to before we run out of time. Noah Ostlund. I've liked him a lot, and I think it's even more impressive that he's looked this good playing with fourth liners. Sam Lafferty and Beck Malenstein are not exactly, the best line mates to try to show off your skill and your ability. And it's been part of my defense of Isak Rozan is I don't feel like I really want to judge his time in the NHL yet because he's always playing on the fourth line. But here comes Noah Ostlund, and he's doing that, centering the fourth line, and looking pretty darn good doing it. In both games, I thought he's looked fast. I think he's looked confident. He's a very good stick handler. I think he seems to have a good mind for the game. He's quick to pucks. He's quick to recognize a play as it's developing, whether it's in the offensive zone or the defensive zone. He's definitely lacking some physicality right now, but the mind for the game and it doesn't look too fast for him. I guess is all I mean to say for Ostlund. It doesn't look too fast for him right now, and I think that's impressive, given that it's only his first year in the North American game, let alone first year of professional hockey. In the NHL, first year of the North American game. So when you look at his role rest of the way, I'd like to see him get a promotion, kicked up to a better line, see if he can do even better. But it's certainly a good sign that even with those guys, I mean, they were dominant. They were unbelievable against Boston last night. They were kind of like the Thompson line. Every time they were on the ice, they had the puck and they generated some chances. What do the numbers say about them when they were out there? Noah Ostlund. When Ostlund was on the ice against the Bruins, that's 12 minutes of 5-on-5 time. The Sabres had 11 shot attempts. The Bruins had 4. The Sabres had 3 shots on goal. The Bruins had 0. All right, so listen, kind of low event, right? Like they only had 3 shots on goal. The Bruins didn't have a shot on goal when Noah Ostlund was on the ice, though. How about that? And the one shot that the Sabres did have while he was out there, he makes a nice play behind the net. He's got vision to see Sam Lafferty coming down the wing at 100 miles an hour for a one-timer. And Ostlund puts it right on him. Great pass, right in the wheelhouse, one-timer. And it gets saved, kind of shot right in the middle of the goaltender. And that was a moment where I thought, that's one of those plays where if he's not on the fourth line, he might have had his first NHL point. That if that's Alex Tuck or JJ Peterka shooting that puck instead of Sam Lafferty, you got a much higher chance of that going in the back of the net. So thought Ostlund played really well, thought he's looked good, and I would like to see him play in a higher line as we roll forward. Sabres and Hurricanes tomorrow. We'll talk more about what Carolina's got going on. I made a future bet in Pennsylvania yesterday, and one of them does involve Carolina. I'll share that. Why I like them a lot going into the playoffs. But much more to get to on tomorrow's show. So stay tuned for that. If you'd like to vote in our Locked On Sabres favorite Sabre bracket, that's still available at Locked On Sabres. You can check it out there. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Again, Locked On NHL. Check them out. All the Ovechkin talk that you want and you need. You can check them out wherever you get your podcasts, including on our YouTube channel. That'll do their YouTube channel. That'll do for us. We'll talk to you tomorrow on a Sabre Game Day here on the Locked On Sabre podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.